There's a lot of stuff going on in the AI space, and this is going to be a continuation of conversation we had the whole week.
Absolutely. So, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, right. I mean, a whole week we have done so much conversation around AI, and everybody's pretty much asking about AI governance. So why not tell the wider people that we're networked and connected with on LinkedIn about AI governance? But of course, the key is that when you have AI governance, how do you communicate AI governance, and how do you get the right message to the right person, right?
Subscribe to the channel.
Here's the way to kind of change people's perspective. Here's how to people to get engaged on the AI conversation, because not a lot of people are comfortable talking about AI.
That's
something
right.
that is known unknown, I would say, right? We talk a lot about our known knowns, but known unknowns take some time to get adjusted with the communications, you know?
That's right. And I think, yeah, having a good governance framework too, Asif, provides, structure to reduce, the problems with safety and security in the age of AI. Because, there's a lot of security concerns that we see. Even one, recently with ChatGPT saying, hey, there's like threads, your private chat history actually is on Google now, like things like that, where your private conversations, proprietary data, is out there. So having like a governance framework to put that safety and security around that is so important, because of things like that. You don't realize how much information you're actually giving to these AI tools. And then in a business context, that can be really concerning to a lot of these business leaders or executives when you're in charge of, trying to lead your company successfully. So it's a lot of pressure and stress. And, a lot of those leaders are trying to figure out, okay, how do we navigate this, the right way? What structure do we need to even put into place? So, yeah, and I think even this week, Asif, it's been like maybe 15 meetings at least that we've had, with leaders talking about that. Because rather than jumping into doing, this crazy AI project or video camera, use cases or whatever that use case is, starting at that foundation of safety and security with AI governance is a really crucial piece to that. So I'm excited, for the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we can only share what we know, right? Because this is our known territory.
That's right.
Folks that are coming in to say, like, how do I make this part of my ecosystem? How do I get to know more about it? I guess the comfort comes over time, but you have to engage with the right people, right? Those right people give birth to the right process, and that process gives birth to whatever deliverable you have, be it technology or more data, to have more data so you can have better AI. AI governance and data governance to me is, why even draw the line? Why don't we just mix them up, right? In AI space, you do have to bring some AI component that didn't really apply to the data part of side of things. Say, for example, LLM, tokens, chatbots, and all those things. Yeah, still data governance. It's just that you have to frame it differently, because the framework of data ops, framework of ML ops, they bleed into each other, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're totally separated, right? We are getting to the AI ops environment where you will have multiple AIs. How do you maintain those multiple AIs, right? So these ops are, they've never been really clear cut, right? No. But now it's really muddy.
That's right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of these things, from the past that are now kind of, we're bringing this into the age of AI. And some of it is, translatable or translational. But then, like you're saying, with data governance, okay, well, yeah, AI, the power of AI or the value of AI really comes from the data and that data set. But there are other new hurdles, like ChatGPT or using Claude, or this thing called shadow AI, where you can get into these security issues where you're feeding in all your data to those large language models, like you're saying, and they're actually training their models on that data. That is a big concern. So there's things like that with data governance. Okay, I can see that, maybe coming over and helping guide that. But there's a lot of new, kind of innovations that have to happen to put that into place, for companies the right way, Asif.
So, of course, we spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So of course, you run into this sort of information on LinkedIn, which is interesting because this post is talking about, ChatGPT sharing information that we've shared with other people. Well, I guess you have to read between the fine line to understand that this will end up in Google, right?
That's right.
So you enter your personal information on something like this. This is not about corporate governance. This is your personal information governance, right?
That's right.
So this is the information that kind of comes out, where something that you think nobody else is seeing is going to be in somebody else's radar, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I think it's interesting to see for that because, even when I first actually started using ChatGPT, I think it was back in like November, December of 2022. And I was just using it to make funny memes and text messages back and forth with my wife. And I did share at the time the links back and forth. So now I don't think there's anything that I should be worried about that's out there. But yeah, now Google and other search engines can index all of that data. So imagine if I'm putting in really sensitive data, company data, client or customer, that's a big no-no because now it's all searchable online. So it's a big problem.
Problem that we have learned throughout the years what not to do, but here this is a moment of application, right? We really have to not do what we've been told not to do, and then more on top of that, right?
That's right.
So let's do something that I've been doing more frequently for everybody. Kind of look at Jason's post, because you put out some stuff that is engaging, right? And I loved.
Thank you. Well, likewise.
Look, these newsletters are something that becoming more relevant to understanding where AI is heading. But just to kind of go back to that post we just showed a little bit ago, this is something that's coming up in the news cycle every 8 hours, right? And within 8 hours, everybody's forgetting about it, right?
That's right.
Newsletters is a way to kind of keep up with mash of what we are learning on a weekly basis and kind of bringing that awareness to everybody, right?
That's right.
Which I appreciate because you can look at all these news from many sources, but they really are pushing for a specific kind of messages, right? So people that know us in our network, we know what sort of messages they need, right? So we can give our network that specific need of messages and kind of articulate that to say like, okay, this week, this is some of the things that are changing. This week, these kind of innovations are coming to the market, and these are the new latest risks. Sort of that SWOT analysis, which we have to do off top of our head every hour for every engagement we are in, right?
That's right.
What's the strength here? What's the weakness here? What's the opportunity? What's the threat? Not everybody's kind of thinking through that for each product, but that's what we have to do all day long is look at the products and say, this one is really strong, but there's a lot of threats behind it that hasn't been really addressed yet. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, and I think too, also the big piece, Asif, that I think really stands out, with you and me when we talk, just any people in general using AI, but also especially companies that are like on their AI journey. It's really focused on authenticity and trust. They want to know, hey, I've got this problem, and just that it's a safe space to be vulnerable and talk about that. And then, kind of guide them on, hey, it's okay to feel this way. A lot of people, the majority of people, are feeling this way, and that's okay. But now let's figure out, okay, how do we, take this stress or this worry and then figure out some of those opportunities, like you're saying, which I love, the SWOT, acronym there, I think comes in there really well, because every individual and organization has an opportunity where AI can add value. It's just a matter of, figuring out and then customizing that, for what works for them.
Yeah. Jason, I think this post literally just came up to the top of the post here on my feed. This is really something that governance-wise we have to talk more about is vibe coding, right?
Yeah.
What's happening in the world of vibe coding? What's happening in the world of text to code, and code to execution, right? Because text to coding is fun, but code to execute, and once you deploy that code, what's next, right? That's AI governance from day one, because a lot of the conversations that I've had with the vibe coders, they kind of say, we'll figure that out, right? There's the time and opportunity that you save by having AI governance as a day one principle, right? Day zero principle, actually, because if you can address some of the things that you can look at with SWOT analysis in the future, such as vibe coding or executing a code instead of ChatGPT and releasing that, you make your life cycle a lot easier, right? So if there's a 5-year life cycle or 5 months life cycle, how did you manage to get that life cycle to be something that is productive, sustainable, and scalable, right? You had interoperability built into that, but you also built in that AI governance to it, right? What does the AI governance look like to somebody that is vibe coding? Probably not much, but somebody has to be willing to stand up and say, yeah, if you're going to vibe code, I'm going to be the one that's going to take over that AI governance thinking, right? Vibe coding could be gone 5,000 different directions, but these are the 5 likely avenue of approach that we should take based on our corporate governance and corporate need or profitability. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think too, Asif, it's because vibe coding is a huge topic, today, where it is, I think, moving into like right now is the age of the idea guy because, the idea guy can take their idea, put it right into a vibe coding tool, like Bolt or Lovable or whatever, the platform out there, Claude Code, Cursor, there's a lot of them. But if you don't have some of the fundamental understanding of governance and security, how that data transfer is happening, you end up having an app or these AI integrations that are exposed, to the wider internet. There's a lot of hack attacks that can happen. So it's doing things, the right way, again, with trust and security at the forefront. But I mean, it is an amazing opportunity with vibe coding to essentially almost create a standard operating procedure, that SOP, and build it with some of these guardrails or frameworks in place. And vibe coding is an amazing tool, but just like any tool, you got to kind of learn how to use it. Even, see for us at the company OnStack, that we are working on with our team, building some of these AI applications, our engineers, are using some vibe coding tools. But we also kind of know, where are those pitfalls to watch out for, what to do, what not to do. It's a massive efficiency tool that can really help you level up in that regard. But you also got to remember, just like any tool, it has some potential, challenges associated with it. So you got to know, how to wield that tool the right way.
Yeah. So Andre Karpati and many of the vibe coding lead innovators is talking about the way we will code restlessly, as in we'll continuously code, because we have the software 3.0 environment where software is not necessarily something that software engineers will do exclusively, but rather everybody will develop their own software. And this is some of the things that we really have to keep in mind, because there's a lot of rush to get in, but there's a lot of rush to build that AI governance as well. So it's all possible because we've done it before, right? We've done it with DevOps, DevSecOps. We've done it with IT Ops, where we have kept all these things relevant by discussing, but one cannot take priority over the other, right? And as things are happening, we can do more with less. That's the environment we're getting into. But that doesn't necessarily mean the future is certain for everybody, right? Everybody kind of have to know where their risk lies, do that SWOT analysis. Another one that I always talk about is PESTEL, right? It's political, economic, the L stands for legal, societal. These sort of PESTEL analysis is really worth keeping an eye on and teaching the whole team about, right? So as the team is communicating, they need to be able to talk through some of these environments that they're going to be part of in the future, right? So if they're talking about what's the legal future looks like, how the technological future looks like, they kind of have to know these things and be able to address that as they're vibe coding.
That's right. Yeah, and I love that acronym because it really puts a good framework and structure, I think, for a lot of people, searching how do you do this the right way. So that's great, Asif.
And this pastel is how you lead, say vibe coding pastel, get a response from ChatGPT or Claude to give you these responses and answers. Now, like I said earlier, we're helping folks to be the change agent within the organization, be the guiding principle, a light, so that way, you're helping others to communicate very easily, helping them communicate about AI, so that way AI adoption is faster, decisions on AI is also faster. These are important for all levels of organization, correct? Everybody needs to be able to communicate clearly on this topic. But last piece I want to throw in is the data at rest, data at motion, data at motion. And you hear me talk about this over and over, Jason. I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's great. It's so important. We need to reinforce it all the time.
Yeah. So you got a few of these topics that you can talk through. But if somebody can frame the conversation just around these, AI governance is least of your worry, because if somebody cannot tell you what's happening to the data while it's at rest, now let's talk about that as a team. Let's address that as a team, because data in motion, a lot of the cybersecurity folks will think about it from a cybersecurity perspective. But let me give you one example of data in transit. Say, for example, you have a shadow AI problem in your organization, right? And nobody really knows what shadow AI is. So here's one of the shadow AI implications. Let's say you took a legal note, and that legal note was taken in a court trial. And then in the process, an intern took a picture of that note to say, let me put that on ChatGPT and create my notes now, right? So nobody knows that that person is actually taking that picture and have taken notes on their personal device based on their use of ChatGPT that wasn't really prescribed by anybody between the lawyer and the client, right? So that data is in transit at that point, right? So that note was in transit and it wasn't hacked. It was just literally taken by somebody who just didn't think through the data governance between the the lawyer and the client's confidentiality. Right.
Yeah.
So now you can imagine where data in use and data at rest kicks in, because that's ChatGPT. Data at rest, data in use is also ChatGPT, because ChatGPT has consumed that information. Now there's a vulnerability of legal court proceeding or other confidentiality that's kind of in question right now. It's in limbo. So these are the kind of three topics that I would say, keep in mind, because if as a team you can address it, you have gone farther than most of the other companies when it comes to AI governance.
Yeah, and Asif, just, I loved everything that you said there, but just to kind of wrap up, the conversation, some thoughts that are floating around, in my head is because, again, we're both architects, AI architects, actually, at OnStack. So, we work with a lot of these global organizations, but even people in general, that are leaders at these companies trying to navigate AI. There's things like that you just mentioned, solutions where, you can use these open source large language models and host them on-prem to try to, prevent some of those security, issues. There's a lot of opportunities to do that the right way and ways to navigate that. So, I just want to throw out there, that Asif and myself, if you have questions about AI governance or, using data and transferring data the right way, we would love to, have a conversation with you. I don't want to speak for you, Asif, but maybe, have them here on the show, with us and kind of talk with them about that. I think, that would be really exciting to do that real time with people. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Any other things that, could be like a good solution to some of those challenges that we talked about today?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that people, process, and technology, right? More people we talk to is more people that are contributing to that process. And one of the things that outlasts the people is the process. So if you're not part of that process in the early stage, that process outlives you and I guess outlast you, whatever the case is. And that process is what we either benefit from or we suffer from, right?
That's right.
So like you said, engage with us, right? If you engage with us, you're going to come in and say something to us that is going to change our perspective, because we are the ones helping develop this process. But if we don't know, that's our unknown, right?
Yeah.
We are not necessarily a creature of, being comfortable with known unknown. We're very much, if I know it, I know it, and that's what I live with, right? So if you're listening to this conversation and you want to take part in it, that means you are contributing to that process, and you're going to change the ultimate deliverable, whatever that is, being technology, be it data, or just being that great artificial intelligence. So I'm definitely interested in seeing who will contribute to the process, because that's how we know people that are talking about it are the ones that are doing something about it, right?
That's right.
So one of the things about OnStack that differentiates us is that we have delivered 150 some use cases. So there's a lot of theoretical AIs out there, but not many delivered AI that is machine learning, utilizing large language model, utilizing deep learning, computer vision, audio, voice. We have so many use cases. I mean, the one that I love talking about is the NFT one, right?
Yeah.
We even have something that is literally NFT based. So the use cases are wide. The process for those are also wide. So we don't know who it is that we're going to engage with, but we engage with anybody, right? If you're curious and you want to see the process, see through the process, we'd love to have a discussion with you. And I think that's going to be a great learning opportunity for us as well.
That's right. Yeah, and just to echo, Asif, what you're saying, at OnStack, we just take a really simple 3-step approach to any AI, conversation. So there's a discovery process. We identify those challenges and opportunities, then proving that. So when we have an idea of what, might be a good starting point, okay, let's prove that this is going to get an ROI or, hit those KPIs or metrics, the outcome that an organization wants. And then that third is, okay, when we find out what works and what doesn't work, let's scale it. Let's go to production deployment. Let's do something long-term or even new opportunities there when we kind of laid that foundation. And usually, Asif, as you know, because we've done a few of these, AI governance projects, we start, with that AI governance framework early on in that discovery process, because it is so crucial to any, AI project, but especially those in healthcare, government, finance, where data sensitivity, is so important. So governance framework is really important for every project, but especially, for more of those sensitive projects.
Well, Jason, I'm looking forward to the next discussion here, and I'm
Me
looking
too.
forward to seeing, more of these LinkedIn posts and engaging with them, because this is kind of my favorite part of the day, is to see what is the rest of the world doing.
Right.
Right? Me and Jason, we probably are side by side doing a lot of things on a weekly basis, but what is the rest of the world doing is something that I don't want to have a FOMO about, right? Fear of missing out. So looking forward to learning more on these topics, and see you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you, Asif. See you guys next week.
Ciao.